Welcome back. Genetic tests for DNA markers associated with marbling and tenderness are commercially available. University of California Davis Extension Specialist Allison Van Eenenem is a leader in DNA marker research and has more on its use in cattle selection.
So it's a really exciting time to be working with DNA-based biotechnologies, and so today we're going to talk about what DNA means for the cattle breeding industry. But before we go there, just to make sure everyone's on the same page as to what DNA is found in every cell of every body, and basically what DNA does is it tells your body how to grow, and so it also is what you pass on to your children. So blue eyes, brown eyes, or in the case of cattle, black coat color is an example of a DNA inherited trait that they get from their parents. How do you use markers or DNA-based markers in selection decisions? Well, let's have a look at how producers have traditionally been doing selection. And so many beef producers will be familiar with EPDs, that is expected progeny differences. And basically what that's been doing is, in the era prior to knowing anything about the DNA, we've looked at the performance of animals and their pedigrees and observed whether an animal has particularly good production characteristics for things like weaning weight or growth rate. And using calculations have been able to estimate what the genetic value of that animal is for those different traits, just based on basically how they performed. So now we're entering an era where we've started to get these DNA markers that are associated with certain of the genes that contribute to those particular characteristics, like marbling or tenderness. Now, they don't mark all the genes associated with those particular traits, because those traits are what's called multigenic, or many different genes contribute to them. And so what markers are starting to do, or at least the first set of markers coming onto the market, is they're maybe marking one or two of the maybe 100 genes that are associated with those particular traits. It's still really important, if you have EPD information, to use that as well, because EPDs tell you about all the genes associated with the trait of interest, whereas markers maybe only look at one or two. And I think what we'll see in the future is that the marker data, the genetic data that we get by genotyping our animals, is going to get integrated into the National Cattle Evaluation Program, so that we'll get what's called marker-assisted EPDs. And the hope of everybody is that that's actually going to give us even more accurate EPDs than we could get just based on observations and pedigrees, as has been done in the past, or just based on the DNA information alone. And so what that potentially opens up the possibility for is being able to genotype calves at a very young age, when they're just born, and get accurate EPDs, much more accurate than you could get just by looking at their pedigree information. So DNA doesn't only have applications from animal breeding perspective, it's got some other applications that beef cattle producers might want to use it for, and one of them is paternity determination. So often in commercial ranch settings you have a multi-sire pasture with many cows running with several bulls, and you get a calf crop and you really don't know which calves came from which bull. And what you can use DNA testing for is to basically follow the transmission of genes from each bull to a calf, look at what genes the calf got, and figure out which was the sire of that particular calf. And some of the uses that you might want to put that to would be things like, if you're pulling a lot of calves one year, you could potentially take the DNA from those calves, match it up to the sire, see if one particular sire is causing a lot of your calving problems. Another thing that it could be used for is traceability of product. And so because DNA is unique, every sequence of DNA uniquely identifies an individual, and because it's permanent, because it's in every single cell of the body, then of course it gives you an opportunity to give it basically a genetic fingerprint that's unique to a particular animal, that gives you some traceability. DNA-based technologies are really developing at a rapid pace at the moment, and I think we're really at a very young stage of this industry, but it's a really exciting industry, and I think that in 20 years' time we're going to look back and wonder how we ever made selection decisions in the absence of DNA information. I think it's going to get incorporated into national beef cattle evaluation and really contribute towards getting good accuracy estimates on the breeding potential of our beef cattle.
Marker-assisted selection is another tool to use with traditional selection tools like EPDs. To learn more about DNA markers and beef cattle selection, visit cattlemantocattleman.org.